Hello everyone. In this lesson, we are going to discuss the definition of the derivative. So here, we will apply the definition of the derivative of a function at a given number. Okay? So I know derivative is new to you, so let us introduce the definition of the derivative. So let f be a function defined on an open interval I subset of the set of real numbers, and let x sub o be an element of the interval I. The derivative of f at x sub o is defined to be this one. So this is read as the derivative of f at x sub o, or we can read this one as f prime of x sub o. Okay? So this is the derivative of f at x sub o, or f prime of x sub o. And that is equal to the limit of f of x minus f of x sub o all over x minus x sub o as x approaches x sub o if this limit exists. Now, as you can observe in the formula, medyo familiar siya. If you can still recall the formula in finding the slope of the tangent line, m sub TL is given by the limit of y minus y sub o all over x minus x sub o as x approaches x sub o. Or in terms of f of x, we have the limit of f of x minus f of x sub o as x all over x minus x sub o as x approaches x sub o, which is just the same with this formula. Therefore, if you are going to find the derivative of f at x sub o, you are just finding the slope of the tangent line of the function at that given point x sub o. That's why we say that the derivative of f at x sub o is the slope of the tangent line at x sub o f of x sub o if it exists. Therefore, again, if you are solving for the derivative, you are just solving for the slope of the tangent line. Therefore, for the following problems, hindi na tayo masyadong mahihirapan kasi alam nyo na kung paano isosolve yung slope ng tangent line. Okay? Yung bagong notation lang yung nadagdag, which is f prime of x sub o, or the derivative of f at x sub o. Other books uses other notations. Okay, so these are the common notations used to denote derivative. So we have the first one, f prime of x. So x here is in general, kahit anong point. So that's why x lang yung binigay. X sub o, meaning may specific point. Okay? So in this case, we have f prime of x. Ang ibig sabihin, that is the derivative of f at x. We also have this one. To read this one, that is just the derivative of f of x with respect to x. So we also have this. So this is also the derivative of f of x with respect to x. Or if your function is in terms of y, so you have the derivative of y with respect to x. Or this one, dy over dx, meaning the derivative of y with respect to x. So yun lang yung ibig sabihin ng mga notations nito. Lahat yan ay derivative. Okay? So that's it. Now let's try to compute the derivative of the function at the given value of x sub o. So in our examples here, we have specific values of x sub o. Okay? For number 1, we have f of x equal to 3x minus 1. So we will find the derivative of f at x equal to 1. So that is the derivative of f at x equal to 1, or f prime of 1. So our x sub o is equal to 1. Now from the given formula, we have f prime of x sub o is equal to the limit of f of x minus f of x sub o all over x minus x sub o as x approaches x sub o. Now let us substitute the value of x sub o, which is 1. So we will have f prime of 1, and that is equal to the limit of f of x minus f of 1 all over x minus 1 as x approaches 1. So therefore, we need to solve first f of 1. So f of 1 is equal to, so we will just substitute the value of 1 to our x here. So si x dito magiging 1 lang. So you will have 3 times 1 minus 1, and that is equal to 2, right? So we will substitute it here. So we will have the limit of, and f of x is equal to 3x minus 1. So we will substitute 3x minus 1 to our f of x. So we will have 3x minus 1 minus f of 1 is 2 all over x minus 1 as x approaches 1. So from that, we will now have the limit of 3x minus 1 minus 2 is 3x minus 3 all over x minus 1 as x approaches 1. So if you will try direct substitution, the answer will be 0 over 0. Indeterminate, so we will factor. So we will have the limit of 3 times the quantity x minus 1. So the factors are 3 and x minus 1 all over x minus 1 as x approaches 1. So x minus 1 is common, so we will cancel it. So what's left is 3 na lang. So we will have the limit of 3 as x approaches 1. And the limit of a constant is the constant itself. So therefore, f prime of 1 is equal to 3. And that's it. So, hindi na tayo mahihirapan talaga kasi alam nyo na kung paano mag-solve ng slope ng tangent line. Let's have another example. So, we will compute the derivative of the function at the given value of x sub o, and that is 2. So, here we will solve for f prime of 2. Okay? So, first, kagaya kanina sa number 1, we will solve first for f of x sub o, and our x sub o is 2. So we have f of 2. So we will just substitute 2 to our x. So we will have 2 times 2 squared plus 4, and that is equal to 8 plus 4, and that is 12. Next, we will solve for f prime of x sub o, and that is equal to the limit of f of x minus f of x sub o all over x minus x sub o as x approaches x sub o. So let's substitute x sub o is 2. So we have f prime of 2, and that is the limit of f of x minus f of 2 all over x minus 2 as x approaches 2. Now our f of x is equal to 2x squared plus 4. So you substitute it here. So we have 2x squared plus 4 minus f of x sub o is equal to 12. So we have minus 12 all over x minus 2 as x approaches 2. Then simplify, we will have the limit of 2x squared plus 4 minus 12, that is minus 8, all over x minus 2 as x approaches 2. Now, if you are going to do direct substitution, the answer will be 0 over 0. So we will um, factor. So the factors of 2x squared minus 8 are 2 times x minus 2 and x plus 2 all over. This is x minus 2 as x approaches 2. So from that, the common factor is x minus 2. So we will have the limit of 2 times x plus 2 as x approaches 2, and that is equal to 2 times 2 plus 2, and this is equal to 8. So our final answer is 8. Okay? So there. Another example. Suppose we have a rational function. So the same pa rin yung process natin. So we will solve for f of x sub o. So our x sub o is 3. So we have f of 3. So you substitute 3 to your x sa function. So that will be 2 times 3 all over 3 plus 1. And that is 6 over 4, or just 3 halves, right? So from that, we can now solve for f prime of x sub o. And that is the limit of f of x minus f of x sub o all over x minus x sub o as x approaches x sub o. So from that, our x sub o is 3. So we have f prime of 3. And that is the limit of f of x minus f of 3 all over x minus 3 as x approaches 3. Now we do direct substitution for f of x. So f of x is 2x over x plus 1. So we have 2x over x plus 1 minus f of 3 is 3 halves. 3 halves all over x minus 3 as x approaches 3. Now, if you will do direct substitution, so this will become 6 over 4, or 3 halves minus 3 halves, 0 again, over 3 minus 3, 0. So another indeterminate form, so we will factor. But before that, let's simplify the numerator. So we will have the limit of, so the LCD is 2 times x plus 1. So we will have 2 times 2x minus 3 times x plus 1 all over x minus 3 as x approaches 3. And we will have the limit of, this is for x minus 3x, so x minus, you have negative 3, so minus 3. So x minus 3 all over 2 times x plus 1 all over x minus 3 as x approaches 3. So from that, dividing fraction, so we will take the, what do you call this one? Reciprocal of the denominator. So our denominator is x minus 3. So we will have the limit of, copy the numerator, x minus 3 all over 2 times the quantity x plus 1. Change the operation to multiplication and take the reciprocal, and that is x minus 3 as x approaches 3. So as you can see, x minus 3 will be canceled out. So yung common factor is x minus 3. Now we will have, so dito na lang yung kasunod niya, that is equal to, so f prime of 3 ito, equal to the limit of 1 over 2 times the quantity x plus 1. Okay? As x approaches 3. So from that, we can do direct substitution. We have 1 over 2 times 3 plus 1. And we will have 1 over 8. So that will be our final answer. Now for the last one, we have square root of x plus 8. Then we will find f prime of 4. So our x sub o is 4. So first, we will solve for f of x sub o, and that is f of 4. So we will substitute 4 to our x. So we will have square root of 4 plus 8, and that is equal to square root of 12. Okay? So we will have now f prime of x sub o. That is the limit of f of x minus f of x sub o all over x minus x sub o as x approaches x sub o. So we will now have the limit of, so we have f prime of x sub o is 4 is equal to the limit of f of x minus f of 4 all over x minus 4 as x approaches 4. So from that, the limit of f of x is square root of x plus 8 minus f of 4 is 12, a square root of 12. So we have square root of 12 all over, we have x minus 4 as x approaches 4. So as you can see here, if we will do direct substitution, so we have square root of 4 plus 8, and that is square root of 12, minus square root of 12, this will become 0. Over 4 minus 4, 0, indeterminate again. So we will rationalize in this case. So the expression that we are going to multiply will be square root of x plus 8. You just change the operation here. So we have plus square root of 12 all over square root of x plus 8 plus square root of 12. So there. So this will become f prime of 4 equal to the limit of numerator, you multiply, so we will just take the square of the first term minus square of the second term all over. We have x minus 4, you copy the denominator, times square root of x plus 8 plus square root of 12. Okay, as x approaches 4. So from that, we will now have the limit of square root of x plus 8 square is x plus 8 minus square root of 12 square is 12 all over, copy the denominator. Okay, as x approaches 4. So from that, we simplify. We have the limit of x plus 8 minus 12 is x minus 4 all over x minus 4. Then we have square root of x plus 8 plus square root of 12 all over as x approaches 4. So from that, you can see a common factor. So we can cancel that one. So what's left is the limit of 1 over square root of x plus 8 plus square root of 12 as x approaches 4. So we can now do direct substitution. So we will have 1 over square root of 4 plus 8 plus square root of 12. And this is just equal to 1 over, this is square root of 12 plus square root of 12. We have 2 square root of 12, or this is also equal to 1 over 4 square root of 3. You can have this one as your final answer. Or you can rationalize this one. So if you will do rationalizing, the result should be square root of 3 over 12. Okay, so this should be your answer if you will rationalize this one. Okay, so that ends our discussion for the definition of the derivative of a function at a given number. Thank you for watching.